to you. So with that said, we are going to go ahead and start up with element 7. So welcome to Thursday night. Element 7, creating a new leptogenic world. And so, with that said, every week we kind of go through the mindset, the skill set, and of course the action. So, you can follow along on page 164 in your life book, but focus on making simple, powerful changes in your surroundings to make it easier to make healthy choices. The action, of course, the skill set's going to be connect time and place with your food choices to optimize health, explore and implement strategies to adjust your surroundings to create your leptogenic world. And then, of course, the action is feeling amazing while making these changes. And I think it's good to note, too, on page 187 in the Habits of Health book, for those who may be curious what leptogenic was. When I first saw that, I was like, I'm no English major, and my SAT scores were not that high in English. But, leptogenic basically says it right here. It's an adjective, comparative, more leptogenic, a superlative, most leptogenic, causing weight loss or creating thinness. So causing weight loss or creating thinness. So Allie, if you're ready to get started.
Yes, I would like some of that.
Exactly.
I would like some of that. Y'all just send it in a little box to me. I'll be real happy. So I love this chapter because in this one we talk about something, and let me ask a question to all of you, and you can just answer to yourself, or you can, we can be like church and y'all can shout amen. But we're going to talk about willpower a little bit. And how many of you have ever, like some of you might be on day 1 of your journey. Some of you might be like me and you're 5 years out and, you're living life in this new, way that you've been taught. You'll do something, or you'll have a week where you just go completely sideways. And I've told my coach, because I still talk to my coach from time to time, I'm like, you know what? I just don't have any willpower this week. I don't know where it went, but it's gone. And Dr. Anderson is going to teach us in this element that willpower is not something that you have or don't have. It's like a tank. And our willpower tank can be full, half full, or it can be empty. And so he's going to teach us things to help us keep our willpower tank topped off, but also to set us up so that when our willpower tank is running low, it doesn't sabotage us from the goals that we want. So when our willpower tank is running low, and for this one goes out to my mamas who have children who have things like goldfish crackers or something that maybe you wouldn't be tempted by unless your willpower tank is low. And then you're like, ooh, goldfish. And before you know it, there's a handful of them in your mouth. So when your willpower is depleted, you're more likely to make your decisions based on your surroundings, which is another side effect of that, or another way to think about it is not only is it what you keep in your pantry, but if you've had a really rough week and you circle up with the girls to go out and everyone else has had a rough week and they're going to be drinking, probably not a good idea, only because you're going to have a hard time making good decisions because your emotions are driving your actions at that point because your willpower tank is low. So we're going to introduce the habit of connecting time and place to coordinate where you are throughout the day and make small but critical changes in your surroundings. Okay. And the next element, this will evolve into your personal habit clock. So basically we're just like Dr. Anderson has had us building our awareness with Stop, Challenge, Choose, building our awareness with, are we, being a victim, a villain, or a hero, or are we being open and creative and getting out of the emotional brain and the thinking brain? This is just more of that. This is just more of building that awareness muscle. This whole entire book is about building your awareness muscle. Building your awareness muscle allows you to make changes in your habits that stick. It changes your autopilot settings from something crummy to something that's going to serve you long term. And the more we do it and the more we progress down the road of building that our autopilot into something better, the easier and more joyful your life becomes. So that's the good news, right? It may feel a little hard at times, but know that hard or that struggle or that overcoming that obstacle is going to release you to a freer, happier, easier way of doing your life. So it's more joyful. So just keep that in mind. So on page 168, we're going to go through your day. How many hours are you sleeping? That's healthy habits, right? So it should be 8 hours. And you can see in that 8 hour window, there's kind of that number 22 is that winding down time. So that's when that healthy habits bedtime routine comes into play so that you do have a really good night's sleep. And then at 6 a.m. and 7, you're starting to wake up and begin your day. My clock is a little different. I am not a morning person. And I'm not saying that like I'm owning it. I've tried. I've woken up at 5:30 for 3 months in a row. It never got any easier. So and that's okay. I function better a certain way. And you know what? I've learned to embrace that. It's okay. And I've patterned my life around where I can utilize my strengths. So I actually go to bed at 11 p.m. and I get up around 7:30 in the morning. So I get plenty of sleep. And then that's when I start my day. So anyway, you can see at multiple times throughout the day, there are little forks and knives. And those are all opportunities for us to make our nutrition decisions, right? And keep those going. He wants to concentrate because with the healthy habit system, we've got our nutrition in place, right? We know what we're doing with that, hopefully. Our lean and green meal is laid out beautifully. Can you guys hear my washing machine? Do I need to go shut the door? Okay, because sounds like a plane is landing. I'm sorry. Anyway, as long as y'all can't hear it, that's fine. It makes it hard to think though. But anyway, so you've got your nutrition down, right? We're grazers. We are eating our fuelings. We're having our lean and green. So now Dr. Anderson wants to concentrate on our bedroom, our car, our workspace, meal times, and home, specifically to kitchen, pantry, and living spaces. So I know Kenny has talked about healthy surroundings with human beings, right? Our human beings and the people that we surround ourselves with can help or hurt our journey. Y'all, okay. I'm just gonna keep going. My dog is shredding something behind me. I don't know what it is. Okay. So now let's move into that. So food environment design in your house. How many of you have a really cool way of storing your fuelings? Like a place that you have them kind of all tucked away? That's awesome. So for a while, I did not keep them in my pantry because I didn't want to go into my pantry when I was hungry. But then when I got to where I was doing okay on the meal plan, I could store them in my pantry. But those are just kind of things that you can think about. You want to read part 2.2 in your Dr. A's Habits of Health, your blueprint for safe weight loss, which will give you specific to foods that you want to toss and ones that you want to use to replenish your shelves. Kenny, you want to talk about the pantry for a minute while I get this stuff out of my dog's mouth?
Yeah, no problem. And just briefly touching back on your environment and some of the people you're hanging around with, think about this, guys. And when you start any journey, whether it's a health journey or maybe it's a get out of debt journey, maybe it's you're trying to better your faith or whatever your journey is, your life is the average of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. And so sometimes we have to look at those 5 people and go, are these 5 people that I've been hanging around with for the last couple of years, are they all super healthy, or are they kind of some of them healthy and some of them not so healthy? What you need to do is kind of take and put yourself into positions or places where you set up an environment to either bring people along with you, or you find some new people to hang out with who are running at a little bit higher thermostat than you are, so to speak. Maybe you find somebody who's already lost 25, 30, or even 100 pounds and have kept it off for a while. Because when you get around them, some of that fire that's inside of them rubs off on you and it raises up your identity. So, so same with your health journey. It's, when you're first starting this, you get around your coach and your coach gets all fired up and they get you fired up and you start gaining momentum. And that's where you start raising that internal thermostat and raising that dialogue that, yes, I can do this. But as far as your pantry is concerned, I think it's, there's a lot of to-do lists in here. And this is not a one size fits all. I mean, we've got some folks, on the plan that are older. We've got some single mamas here. We got some people who are single. They have no kids and no spouse. So setting up that pantry for your success is paramount, especially when you've got kids in the house. And so what we have done in our pantry, for example, is I've got my fuelings on the back of the door and a little, like one of those little pocket things. You've probably seen them on Optimal Awakenings. So the fuelings are there. That way it's easier for myself or whomever that wants to grab a healthy option. They don't have to physically walk into the pantry. Now, my daughter, on the other hand, who's a super fit 13 or 14-year-old girl playing softball and, can eat whatever she wants, her options are all the way at the back of the pantry on the bottom shelf. That way I don't have to go back there and I don't have to dig into those options. But, he talks a little about getting rid of tempting foods that can sabotage your journey. So, I mean, if you're new to the plan and maybe it's just you and your spouse at home, you've got to make a couple decisions. And ladies, your gentlemen at home, if they're unhealthy, they will follow along with this if they love and care about you and they know deep down inside they need to lose some weight in this process as well. They'll follow along and eat the meals. And here again, a lot of us came up in the time era where if mama put it on the plate, we ate it. So, hey, and if your guy comes home for dinner and he doesn't cook and this is what you fixed as a healthy, lean and green, he shouldn't ask any questions. He may ask you where the bread is and you can say, well, it's in the pantry, but I'm not eating that.
And I want to back it up a step further. Yep. And that is, how did it end up in your grocery cart? So then you have to go, am I going to the grocery store at a time of day where maybe I've just gotten off work and I'm still stressed out from my day? And those inner aisles with the junk are going to be calling me. If that's the case, then you may need a couple of weeks where you do the thing where you tell them what you want and you drive up and they bring it to your car. So, and you know what? There's no shame in that. If you don't have if your willpower tank isn't full, that's not a great time to walk into the grocery store. Or before you go and call it in and have them deliver it, that's like, I cannot do it. Don't go into the grocery store without a list. Have a list and only get what's on that list. Don't be walking up and down going, I wonder, maybe we should don't do that to yourself. It's good to have a list, to have a plan and go in there and get it, right? Then you won't be milling about. Then it won't waste your time. Then you can get it over and done with. And your willpower tank, whether it's empty or full, it doesn't matter if you have a list and you stick to it. Because so many people go, they said, oh, Allison, I had a rough weekend and I ate like a half a thing of Oreos. And I'm like, well, you told me you cleaned out your pantry. Oh, well, I did. But the other night, I went into, and I'd had a terrible day at work and they just ended up in my cart. And I figured I'd eat one or two and throw them away, but I ate a whole sleeve. And it's like, okay, so now what did we learn, right? What did we learn from that? We learn a lot of things. So again, it's building that awareness muscle. If you go to the grocery store and something not appropriate ends up in your cart and makes it home, and later on that week, let's say you've forgotten about it, but in a weak moment you find it and you work it down, we're going to build awareness. How did that even get in my house right now? I'm not even going to be eating these for a long time. Like, I'm trying to not do that. So, and it's not, do you notice there's no emotion in that? It's just a curious question. How did these even get in here? I cleaned the pantry out, right? I will tell you, I have two teenagers. And when I started this 4 years ago, I had two teenagers and they always were bringing their stuff in. And I was like, look, y'all are young. You guys are in sports. You're running around all the time. It's mama knows that you're eating that in a way that it's fine for you, but please don't put it where I can find it. Like, just keep it in your room, keep it somewhere else. Because when my willpower tank is empty, there's a good chance I'm going to grab that and I just can't. Can you guys do that for me? And they were like, sure, mom, no problem. So, everybody can make, I don't have to ask them to do that. I mean, I could insist upon that, but my kids are really good about their nutritional choices and every now and then they have a sweet, and that's a really good relationship that they have with that. So I don't have a problem with that, but mama has a problem. And so I can't have that in the house. So certain things now I can, that kind of stuff doesn't interest me, but there was a time that I had to be honest with myself about that. And it says right here on page 169, get rid of your, any food that could sabotage your healthy eating choices, put them in a low or out of the way cupboard, so you don't go near them. and again, like Kenny said, there's tons and tons and tons of things like don't have this, don't have that, get this out of the pantry, don't do that, don't buy this, blah, blah, blah. Y'all can read through all of that. Some of the things I thought were really awesome was in our house, we went from eating on dinner plates to salad plates. My salad plate is now my dinner plate. And what's beautiful is if you make a quad on your salad plate, one corner, it pretty much holds your protein and the other three holds your veggies. It's a perfect thing. And it does a couple of things. One, you won't overeat. Your brain goes, oh my God, look at this food. It fills the whole dang plate. Like what? So your brain gets excited about it, right? And you get to where you're like, yeah, that's my healthy portion. So we have never gone back to eating on dinner plates. We still eat on salad plates. Another thing is the color of your plates can make a difference. Let me see where that says that. It's somewhere in here. I just saw a minute ago on page 174. Colored plates. So when the color contrasts with your food, the size of the portion sticks out and we sense we're eating more. So when they blend, the amount doesn't register, so we eat more. So they were saying buying green plates makes sense. So, I eat on plates that have patterns on them. So I don't know how that affects it, but it's a salad plate. So that works. The other thing they talk about is if you guys sit down at the dinner table to have dinner, put a large pitcher of water on the table so you can just keep refilling your glass. And I practiced, I would eat a bite, chew it up, drink some water. Eat a bite, chew it up, drink some water. I ate too fast because I used to not eat all day. And then I sat down at dinner, I was like, and it wouldn't register that I was full until I was too full, right? Because I ate it so fast, my stomach couldn't tell my brain, yo, stop, make her stop. So when we take a drink of water between each bite, it slows us down, but it also gets our water in. It also helps with digestion. It gives the body the hydration it needs to help the metabolism metabolize those stored fats. But a lot of it is just, it teaches us to slow down.
Alan, I think it's a great, just a quick thing to point out here. Those who are at their goal and beyond, and what you just said about eating fast, that's me, hands down. What I've had to train myself to do, and it's been tough, I'm not going to lie, because I've eaten fast for 44 years, not because that's just who I am. But I've learned that when I'm on a scale of 1 to 10, when I'm feeling and I'm eating that I'm about an 8 as far as fullness, I stop because by the time another 5 minutes passes by, I find that I'm full and satisfied. Whereas before, I may have eaten another half a plate of whatever it was, and then then you're miserable. So that's one thing you've got to retrain your brain on that. And one thing I think that's important in here, because I know we're getting close on time. He talks in here about writing down the unhealthy foods that you have in your pantry. He does this on page 170. He says the key for writing down all these unhealthy foods can be summed up in one sentence. I don't eat these foods because I have chosen to create optimal health and well-being in my life. No. Then he goes on to say, this is a very different approach from when you may have told yourself that you couldn't eat these foods because they were not on your diet. Okay. Previously, you may have said you can't, which creates a feedback loop that points out the restrictions and limitations of what you can and cannot do. It sets you up for failure because you are in essence saying, I'm being forced to do something I do not want to do.
It makes you think you're being deprived. It's a deprivation mindset. And the truth is we're eating more, probably most of us are eating more than we've eaten ever because we eat every 2.5 hours. Did anybody eat like that before they did this? Maybe y'all did. I didn't. And I mean, so I'm not being deprived of anything. And the other stuff is a lot of it is just stuff we're addicted to. So yeah.
And your car is another place, an area that for me was, here again, I spent a lot of time in my truck all day long with my landscaping business. I used to keep a cooler full of Gatorade and a cooler full of all these high sugary soft drinks and all this stuff. Well, we drink 7 cases of water a week now, 40 packs a week I go through. Wow. Yeah, I know it's not eco-friendly. I get it. Y'all can chastise me later for that. But, like on the weekends when we do travel ball softball tournaments, I used to do the same thing, pack sodas and Gatorade. Now I throw an extra case of water in the back so that I've always got water no matter where I'm at. And I'm not a person who drinks it cold, but setting up that car for that situation and planning ahead by taking your fuelings along with you, because I've had this happen with a client. They break down in front of a Taco Bell with a flat tire. It's time to eat lean and green meal, but they've got a fueling in their car. So they didn't make that unhealthy choice. Called the husband. He came, fixed the tire. They're on their way. So, that's just one extra little bit of planning that you can do. He goes in here and talks a little bit about restaurants and same scenario at restaurants. And what Julie and I have learned to do we've been more intentional about this in the last year. A lot of times we'll order entrees and we'll split it. I don't even get the whole entree and eat the whole thing. We'll either get it and split it, or if we want something totally different, we eat half of it and box the other half up and take home. So that's one other thing that you can do to set up your leptogenic world. And also when you're at restaurants, not being afraid to ask for double broccoli or changing, if they cook steak, how do you cook your steak? Is it on the grill? And you can have them customize it to your needs, because they will accommodate you if you ask.
Mm-hmm.
So here again, don't feel fearful of asking or inconveniencing anybody, because guess what? If that steak at Longhorns costs you $38, you better get it fixed the way you want it, right? So that's the way I look at it.
I better get a back rub or something with that too. That's pricey, man.
Right.
I also want to say really quickly too, on page 175, I underline this because I think we all need to hear this, because I want us to all understand that when we make a sideways decision, it's not something to beat yourself up about. It's just building an awareness and an understanding. Emotions and stress, they stimulate areas of our brain that make us crave sugar, fat, and salt. Okay. So when you start feeling that uneasy, uncomfortable feeling coming on, as you stop, drink some water, remove yourself from any surrounding environment that has even the hint of unhealthy food. That's what we've always done. When we're stressed, we're like, girl, I want to get these chips, or, oh, let's go get Mexican, or maybe it's just me here talking here, but it's because that's what our brain wants. It wants that, it craves it. It wants the dopamine hit to take us down out of that stress. What you want to do is work with your coach to build a different grab bag of things that you can do in that moment to relieve the stress that has nothing to do with that junky food. Because as you know, that's what we've been doing, right? So we're trying to change that autopilot setting. And then I want to just touch base really quickly, last thing, on how important healthy sleep is. There are several things that can make you hungry. And one of them that's very interesting, or I thought was super interesting, was that the signal for hungry and tired in our brain is the same. So at 11 o'clock at night, when I'm getting ready for bed and I'm thinking, I'm kind of hungry. No, you're not. You're tired. Go to bed. Like, it's not, in the evenings when we sit down on the couch maybe and we settle down to watch our favorite show or read our book and we feel hungry. A lot of times it's not hungry. It's that you want to go to bed. If you've had your last fueling and it's not, you don't have anything else left for the day, that's your body saying, I'm tired. That hungry and tired are the same, because if you are tired and you're out in the world, your body's like, well, you need some more nutrition because the metabolism's got to get fired up because you're still going. But we're not doing that at nighttime. We want to settle down for bed. So just know that those two are the same. So when we get good sleep, when we build that good bedtime routine that helps us kind of take the stress off of the day and wind down, you do it enough times, your body's like, oh, Allison's getting ready for bed. Okay, cool. We're going to start chilling out. And then when you go to bed, you just get right into sleep. I have always been a fitful, terrible light sleeper. And now that I have this bedtime routine, I sleep beautifully. So it is possible to change that. You don't have to go, I just don't sleep well. We can change that with a good bedtime routine. And so Dr. Anderson just gives a good little starting place here on page 177 of how to start building that bedtime routine. And we'll talk about that more in a different element.
Absolutely. So with that, next week, we're going to be diving into element 8, learning how to eat every 3 hours. So we're 2 months into this and we're just now going to discuss nutrition.
Crazy.
So That's crazy, but it's also so important. It goes to show, you all seen me talk about this, being in that mental gym. And and just think about this too. Page 143, the 4 stages of learning the habits of health. We all started at unconscious incompetence. We don't know what we don't know. Then we go to that conscious incompetence area. We've recognized, hey, I've got these areas that I need to work on. Not quite sure what I need to do yet, which is what we're doing now. Conscious competence, we begin to move into stage 3 with that, where we're learning and we're recognizing that, hey, when I do this, this happens. And then, of course, the state that we all want to get to, that stage 4, is where we become unconsciously competent.
A good autopilot setting. That's all it is.
It's an
just
autopilot
for health.
The last thing I'll touch on, and I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.